I am Hiroshi Komiyama. I am very honored and pleased to have the award in 2017. Today, I would like to share with you some of my recent idea about the COVID-19 pandemic. Structuring knowledge is the most important human activity in order to make effective use of explosively increasing knowledge. As both a scholar and university president, I have long been arguing for the importance of structuring knowledge. Since the beginning of this COVID-19 pandemic, scholars, researchers, business persons, entrepreneurs, government officials, politicians, national leaders, and many others have made various efforts to overcome this problem. As a result, an intensive output of new knowledge is occurring around the world every day. The content of this knowledge ranges from the nature of the virus to medicine and vaccines, immunity, social transmission, regulations, national and global economies, differences among nations, and international security. Structuring the newfound knowledge is to utmost important to ensure its usefulness in overcoming this worldwide challenge. So, just as the COVID-19 pandemic began to take off, I started to structure this knowledge, collaborating with well-informed and trusted friends working in various fields. I would like to share one of the results of my structuring knowledge, a comparison of what is occurring regionally and globally. These three tables show 4 figures for each country. The number of deaths per million people, and second, mortality, namely the rate of death among infected people. Third, the number of infected people per million people. And last, the number of PCR tests per million people. Table 1 shows figures for countries located in Europe, North and South America. Table 2 shows those in Asia, and Table 3, those in the Middle East and Oceania. The countries are listed by the number of the deaths per million people. First, at a glance, it is clear that the number of deaths is much larger in the European and American countries in Table 1 than in other areas as shown in Tables 2 and 3. The difference amounts to about 2 orders of magnitude. Second, mortality varies to a great extent than from 0.06% for Singapore to 16% for Belgium and 18% for France. However, the high mortality in most countries in Table 1 doesn't seem to be the result of virus mutation because the mortality of Luxembourg, which neighbors Belgium and France, is 2.6%. This is only 1/7 that of French and only 1/6 that of Belgium. Table 3 shows that most countries in the Middle East and Oceania have been successful in controlling COVID-19. In particular, low mortality, despite high infection rate, is remarkable among Middle Eastern countries. Clinical statistics provide clear evidence that young people are much safer from the virus than the old ones. People with chronic illnesses and obesity are also more likely to become seriously ill. Consequently, it is probable that the lowest mortality, despite the highest infection rate in Singapore, is the combined result of good social services and the fact that most people infected are young laborers. Also, the high mortality rates on the order of 10% in European and some other countries are very plausibly the combined result of an aging society and a collapse of social and medical services, including elderly care. It is my great honor that I was awarded the 2017 Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum Knowledge Award. Comparing Japan and the UAE using these tables, we can see that so far both countries have been successful in dealing with the pandemic from the relatively low number of deaths for each. But at the same time, both countries seem to have taken contrasting approaches to dealing with virus. Differing from Japan, the UAE carried out many PCR tests, and I suppose from the high infection rate, didn't impose many restrictions on the ordinary lives of people, including tourism. However, to be honest, Japan lacks sufficient knowledge on Middle East countries compared to the Western countries. As contrasting models for protection against COVID-19, the UAE and Japan must fortify communication in order to overcome this catastrophic disaster facing the entirety of humankind. Thank you for attendance.